I have a different form in mind for the back legs, but I'll make them with box primitives just the same. It will be easier to clone the existing legs than it would be to create a new box, because these legs have already been sized. I'll go ahead and mirror this leg around the origin point. This time it's in the Y direction. I need to make a copy because the back legs will be different. I'll rename the new object bleg1, and I'm using the home and end keys on the keyboard to quickly move the cursor around within this text box. I'll go to the Modify panel and get rid of the FFD modifier so that we just have a box primitive. Next, I'll assign the taper modifier to the box. This modifier allows me to taper the leg, but I want to do kind of the opposite thing here. Instead of enlarging or shrinking the top of the box, I'd like to shrink the bottom. So to do that, we need to expand the taper modifier and move the center point of the gizmo up to the top of the box. And if you want to be accurate, you'll have to type in a value down here, which is at the top of the box. In this case, it's 1'6" or 18 inches. I'll go back to object level and then decrease the taper down here. In this case, it's a positive amount. That looks good. Now I'll use the bend modifier to bend the leg backwards, and it's not going in the direction I want. I'll try changing this direction to 90 degrees. So that's the right direction, but we need to do several things to get this leg to behave the way we want. The first is that the leg needs some more topology along its height in order to bend along with the bend gizmo. So I'll go back to the base object in the stack and add some height segments. I'll go back up to bend, and the next thing we need to do is change where the center point of this modifier is located so that it doesn't bend like this, but rather the top remains in place and the bottom of the leg moves back. So this is much like what we did before with the taper modifier. We need to move the center point of the bend modifier up to the top of the box, which is exactly at 1'6". So that looks pretty good, maybe a little less. Okay, I'll go back to object level. Alright, now let's do one more bend on top of this so that we can bend the leg outward. And again, I want to do it where the top of the leg remains fixed and the bottom of the leg moves. So in thinking about this, I realize it might be easier to copy the existing bend modifier instead of starting fresh with a new one. So I'll just delete this modifier from the stack, right click on this one and copy it to the clipboard, and then right click again and paste it, but not instanced, just a unique modifier. And now I can change the direction to, looks like it's going to be 0, and that way I can just splay the leg out a little bit. That's a little bit too much, just a little bit like that will make it look more interesting. Okay, so we're left with one final problem, which is at the bottom of the leg, and that is that the edges of this box don't actually meet the ground. And so I'm going to jump ahead here and just apply a edit mesh modifier, which you'll learn more about later. But we'll just jump ahead here and go to the vertex level of this modifier and grab this vertex here and move it down to Z0. And I'll do that for each of the vertices here on the bottom. And that way we can be sure that the leg is resting on the ground, all four corners of it. We might need to just adjust that slightly by moving those over a little bit so that the nice smooth lines of the leg aren't interrupted at the bottom. That looks great. Okay, I'll go back to object level, zoom out, and the last step here is to clone this leg by mirroring it around the x-axis, and we'll make an instance this time because both back legs will be identical. So to be more efficient, you should instance them.